So now let's look at some of the linen that you need for your baby for sleep, and particularly looking at swaddles and blankets. And when we look at swaddling, I'm going to tell you what I think is important with regards to swaddles. Everybody thinks muslin is the best thing to swaddle a baby in. However, I'm going to tell you, please don't use muslin to swaddle your baby in, because what I find is it just is not stretchy enough and it's too slippery and it slides on itself. And when you swaddle a baby up within 5 minutes, that baby's out of the swaddle. Even if I swaddle a baby, which I've been doing for the last 35 years, the babies tend to come out of those swaddles. So I would rather suggest a stretchy fabric such as a jersey wrap or sometimes even the bamboo wraps, because we know that this is going to have a nice snug fit around your baby. Now, the next course that is available on this app is a paid-for course that is called Newborn Essentials. During that time period, I go through breastfeeding, but I also look very carefully at how to work with your baby after your baby's born. I have a specific technique that I cover there so that you learn to swaddle your baby with a jersey wrap in a way that the baby won't escape out of that swaddling. So really, it's important to make sure that you have a look around. Now, the size I usually suggest around about 100 centimeters wide and about 120 centimeters long. And it's long because we want it to be used as long as the baby requires to be swaddled, which is up until about the age of 4 to 6 months. So really, this is where I'm going to suggest don't go for the muslins. You can even put this on your baby registry that you specifically want jersey swaddles and not too many muslins, because trust me, that's what everybody gives you. Muslins are useful, for example, to pop over a pram or just to have with you during summer. But as I said to you, I talk through at that Newborn Essentials course on how specifically to swaddle your baby. Now, of course, I also do know that sometimes swaddling a baby with a blanket can be a bit complicated and can feel overwhelming for some people. And we have some really beautiful modern swaddles out there. One of them particularly that I like is something called Ergo Pouch. Now, I want you just to know that I do not get paid by any company to advertise or to sell anything for them. If you're in doubt, honestly, you can come and check my bank account. I don't get paid by companies. What I do is I suggest brands that I've seen that are useful, and to avoid the situation of you buying things that are going to be a waste of money or not work as well. So when I, for example, say Ergo Pouch, I'm not being paid by Ergo Pouch to advertise this. I just know that they make really good swaddles. And the idea here is that the baby gets swaddled with its hands really nice and close. Again, during that Newborn Essentials course, I will talk through how to use these modern swaddles and which one is best for which age. And therefore, yes, there's other brands as well, such as Baby Studio. They make some nice, good, snug swaddles. And the other thing as well is don't then exclude places like Kmart or even Target to go and have a look at these places. And once you've seen the logic behind using them, you will know exactly what to look for. And of course, yes, we have the Love to Dreams, but I am really of the opinion that Love to Dreams work much better when the baby is a little older and is used to being able to have some space around them. Whereas newborns, I find the Ergo Pouches and the swaddles that keep them nice and close here are actually better for them. So again, be careful when you're looking at these things, and don't just assume that your baby's going to be comfortable in something that may not be necessarily appropriate for the baby's age. So let's look at TOG. What does TOG mean? Well, I'm going to use this guide from Ergo Pouch, and TOG means the thermal overall grade. In other words, it's the insulation thickness of the fabric. So therefore, the higher the TOG is, the more fibers there are, and therefore the warmer it will keep your baby. And so therefore, the higher the TOG is, the warmer the fabric is. In other words, you're going to use a higher TOG in a colder weather and a lower TOG during summer, for example. So therefore, you can use these guides to be able to determine what TOG do you need for what sort of weather. So you can see over here, for example, we have a situation where the degrees are here. Therefore, you're going to be using a really low TOG because it's summer and it's warm. And this is how you appropriately dress your baby under that. And therefore, by winter, what we've got is a baby who's got, for example, a singlet on and a onesie, and therefore a higher TOG as well, because it's cold during the winter time. And what this guide also offers is to show that you can use different clothing underneath whatever TOG you've got on, depending on whatever the temperature is. So therefore, you can adjust the amount of clothing on and have a different TOG, and therefore have coverage for different temperatures. So really look for these guides because they're helpful for you to be able to know exactly what it is that you're looking for in a TOG in a sleeping bag. Now, of course, you're going to need some linen for the bassinet or the cot that you've purchased. So really what I'm going to suggest is stick with a fitted sheet. And you can purchase these anywhere. Just make sure that you've got the right size, depending on the size of the mattress that you have. And even in winter, if you can find some flannelette fitted sheets, these actually really help to keep the actual mattress a little bit warmer. Now, again, during that newborn essentials, I go through how to make sure that you can warm up a cot as well prior to putting your baby in it. Really don't bother with top sheets. They just cannot stay in one place, especially once your baby's moving around. They become a suffocation hazard as well. And so therefore, don't even buy them. With the baby in a sleeping bag, as we've discussed before, you can actually keep your baby quite warm enough. And really, once they're mobile, you'll find them this end of the cot and that end of the cot. And honestly, you cannot keep your baby covered with a top sheet. So although it looks pretty and it looks beautiful, and you think, well, this is how it's going to be for the baby, most babies just do not stay underneath a sheet and a blanket. So therefore, just look very carefully again at what you're purchasing. No dooners for babies because it's too warm and the baby obviously can slip in underneath it and can smother. And also no cot bumpers that are made of thick material. You can get mesh bumpers that come all the way around to stop the baby from sticking their arms and legs through the slats of a cot, but make sure that they're breathable mesh that goes around there, and that cannot be something that the baby smothers up against. And if your baby's born in winter, you are going to need some loose blankets. For example, your baby might have been swaddled, and once your baby has been swaddled, you then can add extra layers of blanket on top of the baby. For example, this little baby is swaddled in his love to dreams, but he has a blanket on top of him because it's a little bit cooler, and this is going to keep the baby warmer. So you can add various layers onto your baby so that you can make sure that even though your baby is swaddled and under the blankets, the baby is kept warmer. You can tuck them in around the baby as well. Now, this is only really useful if you have a baby that is swaddled and not really moving around a lot. Once your baby is moving around all over the cot, as we've spoken before, loose blankets and loose sheets are going to become more of a smother hazard. So therefore, we need to make sure that all loose blankets have been taken out of the cot by the time your baby's mobile. But if your baby is not mobile and it is cold in the winter, you can add this on top of the swaddling as extra warmth. As the night gets cooler and as it gets warmer in the daytime, you can take that off again. If your baby's born in winter, you're going to want to go for a walk with your baby, and your baby can be really nicely snugged up in their pram in a nice warm blanket to keep them warm when you're going out and about with your baby. You're going to be sitting in a coffee shop, you're going to have your baby in different places, and so therefore having a nice warm blanket to keep your baby warm will be helpful. Again, this usually only works for a baby that's not really mobile, because once they're running around, they couldn't care about blankets. They tend to be much warmer than what we are, and so therefore obviously you would have appropriate clothing on your baby as well, but you can have warmer blankets around as well. Now, as your baby gets older, honestly, as I said to you, it's pointless trying to keep your baby covered with a blanket once they're moving around their cot. That's where you'd look at the tog on your sleeping bags and then work according to that to keep your baby warm in the winter. Remember, you can always add jumpers on top of babies as well so that they can stay nice and warm. And again, you're going to have to determine what sort of blankets you need. You might have somebody who knits for you. Knitted items for babies are fantastic because they do keep babies warm. But you're going to get given lots of these things anyway. So it's one of those items you might not have to go out and purchase for yourself. So I'm really hoping that this has helped you with what to look for as far as your linen is concerned when you're looking at providing this for your new baby.